Kim has done a great job explaining what the HHS mandate is and why it's a serious threat to religious liberty. I will explain why the Catholic Church lives its mission through its institutions, and also why the Catholic Church is particularly affected by the HHS mandate. Why does the Catholic Church serve? Mother Teresa, one of my favorites, frequently said that 5 fingers contained the whole gospel, or good news of Christianity. She pointed to each finger saying, "You did it to me." Where does this phrase come from? In the biblical book of Matthew, Jesus tells his disciples a parable, which is a simple story used to illustrate a spiritual lesson. Then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Then the righteous will answer him, "Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you? When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you?" The king will reply, "Truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did it to me." In this story, Jesus shows how our actions as Catholics directly relate to our faith. Jesus also draws attention to our inactions, and he finds fault with those who do not help others in need. As the world knows, Mother Teresa and her sisters spent decades working with the poorest of the poor and the sickest of the world in Calcutta, across India, and around the globe. She was one of the pioneers of establishing homes for patients with AIDS and HIV. When asked how she could continue to serve those in need over such a long period of time, Mother Teresa responded that she sees Christ in distressing disguise in each of those she served. Mother Teresa may be the most well-known and celebrated Catholic servant of our age, but the church is full of servants. I see you all sitting here. These are the women who work in soup kitchens, the men who build houses for the homeless, the women who donate their legal services for low-income clients, the nurses who bathe the sick, the children who buy Christmas gifts for children who wouldn't otherwise receive presents, and the teenagers who spend Sunday afternoons visiting with AIDS patients at a clinic. These are all individuals who take Jesus' story to heart and act to feed, clothe, educate, heal, visit, and love those who may not have experienced much love in their lives. If individuals are doing all of these good things, why do they need institutions to accomplish these tasks? I'm a basketball player and a softball player, and I know that I can't go on the court and win a game. I need a team. I need team members. And the Catholic Church is that. It has a body of people that come together as members to pool all of our strengths so that we can help those who are most in need in the world. Need material, need spiritually, need in terms of loneliness, and it's the same. The Catholic Church is a team. Catholic institutions allow Catholics to come together and function as a team to serve in their communities, to serve the nation, and to serve the world. The administration would like to narrow the definition of religious activity and faith to what goes on in the 4 walls of the church on Sunday morning. The worship that happens on a Sunday in a church building is just a small part of what it means to be a faith-filled person. The purpose of Mass is to become more like Christ and then take that into the world and make a difference. We need to strengthen the world by taking Christ into the world, by serving and when we meet people of our faith, of other faiths, and of no faith at all. Catholic organizations are bands of people who come together with shared beliefs and common goals. This is also true of Protestant, Jewish, Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim organizations as well. These organizations do good in our society, and in the words of Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan, they provide a critical buffer against the power of the state. Religious organizations have historically been seen as a good thing. They are granted special treatment in our tax laws, for example. Religious organizations can obtain 501c3 status so that they're tax exempt. They're also exempt from certain regulations that other businesses and organizations have to abide by. Catholics gather together during the week to serve our neighbors and give evidence of the love that we have for all people. Through Catholic organizations, we are better able to serve people in our communities, in our nation, and the world. What impact do Catholic organizations have? The diversity of Catholic organizations reflect how vital and necessary their work is in our communities. The plaintiffs in the lawsuits that Kim told you a little bit about are equally diverse. Education is vital for most religious people, and Catholics are no exception. From the Old Testament, we learn that to train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. As a mom of 6 kids, I can relate to the importance of education in shaping our children's moral compass and learning their responsibility to our community. The Catholic Church has always viewed education as vital to the formation and development of the whole person. Catholic Church has more than 200 universities serving 750,000 students in the United States. Several of these universities are part of the lawsuit seeking to protect our religious liberty, including the University of Notre Dame, the University of St. Francis, Franciscan University of Steubenville, and in our area, the Catholic University of America. There are also a lot of parochial Catholic schools, obviously. There are 6,980 Catholic elementary and secondary schools. The total Catholic school student enrollment for the current academic year is over 2 million students. There are 1,440,000 students enrolled in elementary and middle school, and almost 600,000 enrolled in secondary schools. 19.3% of students at Catholic parochial schools are racial minorities. Non-Catholic enrollment is about 300,000, which is about 15% of the total enrollment at parochial schools. Hospitals. Jesus taught Christians a new regard for those who were ill. He performed many miracles for the benefit of the sick. Some of the most loathsome members of society at the time were lepers. Jesus scandalized the religious leaders at the time by touching the lepers and healing them. He instructed his apostles to heal the sick, and he demonstrated this himself by healing the lame, the crippled, the blind, and those with various diseases. From the very beginning of Christianity, caring for the sick among us is a special duty of Christians. This healing ministry, thankfully, was not limited to fellow Christians, but instead embraced all who were ill and in need. Currently, there are 600 Catholic hospitals, as I said, in the U.S. That's about 12% of all U.S. healthcare institutions. 5 of my children were born at a Catholic hospital, and our community is well served by our Catholic hospital. About 1 in 6 Americans are treated in Catholic healthcare institutions each year. Catholic hospitals have 120,000 beds, which is 14.9% of the available beds in the U.S. Catholic hospitals have staff of almost 650,000 full-time equivalent employees. Obviously, there are lots of other Catholic ministries. There are about 1,400 Catholic long-term facilities helping elderly people at the last stages of their lives. There are also ministries to feed the hungry, and St. Martin Center is one of these. It's one of the plaintiffs in the lawsuit that Kim was talking about. The St. Martin Center is an emergency food pantry that provides food for families that find themselves in a bind, and it helps to give out personal care items too. These organizations also give drink to the thirsty. In the Archdiocese of Washington, there's something called the Global Village Program, which allows people here to adopt a village overseas and help build a self-reliant community. There are also Catholic institutions that shelter the homeless. There are emergency shelters, which provide temporary shelter and respite for people living on the street, and they're operated mainly by volunteers. There are also temporary and transitional residences, which are run by dedicated religious women who have taken the lead in trying to provide this kind of housing to people in need. There's also permanent affordable housing for people who find themselves in a situation where they can't provide their families the kind of housing that they need. Also, there are Catholic institutions that clothe the naked. The Prince of Peace Center is another one of these organizations in the lawsuit that's trying to protect religious liberty. They have a thrift store that allows families to come in and clothe their families and get personal care items for free. And then on the issue of visiting and ransoming the captive, visiting prisoners, what I alluded to earlier, in the Archdiocese of Rockville, there's a prison ministry that allows Catholics to go into these prison situations and bring the light of Christ and help these prisoners to understand that there's hope for them on the other side of prison, to get back into society and not be chained by the addictions and problems that they've had previously. Also, obviously, as I mentioned, the Catholic hospitals, there are also Catholic associations of doctors and nurses and other types of healthcare providers. The Franciscan Alliance is one of the plaintiffs and is well represented in this lawsuit as well. And finally, there's the Bury the Dead admonition. The Catholic Cemeteries Association of the Diocese of Pittsburgh allows Catholics to have a cemetery for their loved ones that respects the dead and has a real Catholic vision of the understanding of death and praying for those who have been departed. I've just given you a taste of the variety of Catholic organizations and their impact on our communities. I will end with one more story. Before he had an opportunity to attend Archbishop Carroll High School in Northeast Washington, Roland Halassi was moving between public schools due to problems, fights, altercations, and academic troubles. When he entered Catholic Carroll High School, he became a focused student, and he's ready now to go to college in Florida. He turned his life around. We need more students. We need to give more students like Roland the opportunity to turn their lives around. Our government was not designed to fix all problems and assume responsibility to be the change in our communities. Instead, charitable organizations are uniquely placed to be a force for good. If we don't allow them to function in accordance with their good conscience, we become a weaker society. The threat posed by the HHS mandate is not the only threat. Lauren, I'll turn it over to her now. She's going to share the other threats to our religious liberty.